Good evening, everybody. Welcome to League of Extraordinary Inventors. I'm your host, Mike from Faraday Research. It is Free Energy Friday. Welcome to the show. It is 9 o'clock Eastern. I'm accompanied by Nathan, Old Man Builds, and we got Philip on. And we have, there's Ben. Hi, Ben.
Not bad.
Hey,
Guys, just trying to get my camera settled.
Live chat's open, everybody. Let's light it up tonight. I'm sure we're going to have a great show tonight. We got Philip on, we got Ben, we got Philip, and hopefully Lulu's going to show up anytime soon. She's usually fashionably late, but that's okay.
It's all good.
Yeah, so it's been a busy week. I've been working on the power cells. I'm like very close to my final draft of the cell. So the biggest issue with the cell was sealing it. So I've come up with a few ideas that are going to help me seal that cell properly. And, until you seal that cell, it will degrade. So that's one thing that's been the issue since pretty much day one. So I'm coming up with different ways of doing things. I've tried different ideas, and it's just been a, elimination process of what works and what doesn't work. So that's what I've been up to this week as far as my projects. Nathan, what's up with you? And let everybody know. Also, let your put your link in the live chat to subscribe to Nathan's channel and also Philip's. Ben, Ben, I'm not sure. Does Ben have a Patreon?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, and also check out Benefactor's channel. Subscribe and share his channel as well, and help us out with our channels. And we have excellent experiments. Ben just did a rebuild of his lab.
Oh, dude, his lab looks awesome. Let's go to that first, and then I'll catch up on what I'm doing.
All right.
Oh, he's gone?
He's here. He's not here. He's here.
he's full of surprises.
Yeah.
He's like Houdini.
Bendini.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Bendini Hill.
Bendini Hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he's going to chase some hot women around his new lab.
Yes.
That's his new show.
Oh, man, that's good. Benefactor Hill. That's
man.
Okay, Ben, I'm giving you plugs here. What's going on? You just disappeared on me. Oh,
well, I'll go real quick, Mike. All I've been doing is setting up my new channel. So I have a podcast channel. So I changed a lot of my live shows to 9x16 and put them so everybody can enjoy them on YouTube Music, along with my theme song and stuff like that, Joe's theme song for the Saturday show. All of that's on there, along with a lot of the episodes we did with H Center. Also, the stuff with Liz with Atlantis is on there. Also, a lot of PDFs. So when you're in your car, you can just rock out to a PDF of anti-gravity. And, you know what I mean? You can just listen and absorb it when you're doing that. So I went ahead and built that, man. And it's been all week grinding. It's one after the next. You have to resize everything to fit in a little form. You know what I mean? So, but I set it up well. I think I did really, really good in putting it together. So hopefully it'll benefit in the end.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts in my car. So, like, I have a pretty good data plan. So any shows like yours, Nathan, or Ben, or whatever, or even Bernie, I'll put it on in the car while I'm driving, from home from work and stuff like that. So I'm I don't even listen to the regular radio anymore. It's all podcasting in my car. I just hook up the Bluetooth and go, So,
yeah.
I don't even have cable in the house. All our, stuff that we do now it's all internet based, right? Either on YouTube or Pluto TV or Netflix or whatever. We don't even want cable because to me, cable is like so out of date now. It's like, I even set, since I got married, we never got cable. Like one of my landlords, he used to splice off the cable and pirate the cable to the house.
Mhm.
So we used to get free cable, and that was pretty much the last time we had cable was when we lived there. And ever since, honestly, I don't miss cable.
Well, it's the same thing with me with my parents. We didn't have cable. They were saying go play outside, don't stay inside. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the '80s, right? The '80s were great.
yeah,
Computers were just coming out, and gaming was just starting, and it was a different world back then because this is pre-internet, right?
yeah,
Internet didn't really start till around 1995, so
exactly.
it was a different world back then. And honestly, I really miss it to some point.
Yeah,
I do because yeah, it's just a total different mentality back then. Everybody,
uh,
actually
we
people
used
took
to play hockey in the streets, and stuff like that.
yeah all the time. We sometimes in the winter it gets so cold outside, the road would freeze.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah,
we slap our skates on and we'd be skating on the friggin' road in front of the house.
nice.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was oh man, those days were so good. Oh, I miss them.
Lulu is here, I think.
Yeah.
Is she here? Oh, there
Yeah.
she is. Hi, Lulu. You're
What's up,
fashionable,
Lulu?
right?
Oh, there she is.
Hey,
Hey, Lulu.
I know what's happened with Ben.
sorry.
He's got
I
some.
had to. I had to get. I had to like. I had to bribe my kids to be quiet if I take them to get.
So yeah, we're just kind of going over, what we've been up to. Ben, I don't know what's going on with Ben. He's here. He's
We're
not here.
waiting on Ben. And
Yeah, he did a total rebuild of his lab. So
He
My
he's
camera keeps on disconnecting, so I gotta sort that out.
uh, he's got a few glitches.
Yeah.
I'm.
Go ahead, Lulu.
Your sound is breaking, Lulu.
It's like her internet froze.
Yeah. Use your cell phone, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if she's using a laptop or cell phone. Probably her cell phone isn't. But yeah, so yeah, just going back to the project thing. Uh, that one last week, Nathan, where they were talking about the using the Earth's magnetic field.
Oh, pipe.
Yeah, the pipe thing. That's hilarious. I got a good laugh over that. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
There's other people talking right now about the the Bueller
Yeah. I'm sorry.
propellantless, the Bueller
I'm saying
propellantless
I'm sorry
asymmetric.
for what I heard today.
Yeah.
Happened to you.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll talk about that offline.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Yeah.
On
So
my end, there's nothing.
Maybe log back in. Just say that in the private chat.
Hey, Mike, real quick while we're waiting, put this up. I sent you the potato power. I beat the whole thing. Watch.
All right.
Just wanted to see how much voltage was in a potato. Set it down to millivolts.
Gigawatts.
Stick the potato.
The
Nice.
mighty
go.
potato.
I already beat that pipe.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
20 volts.
No, that's 24 millivolts.
That's all millivolts. It goes up.
Shit, so hitting almost
Can
50
you hear me?
millivolts. Yeah.
No.
Dude, it'll get up to 100.
Oh.
This is ridiculous.
Nice.
Oh.
So that's why when I eat
This
poutine,
fluctuating,
when I eat poutine, I get electrified.
to it?
It's solar powered.
No, not a bit of difference. Huh. Interesting. Potato power.
Nice.
When I went
I
to
just see they got to 71.
when I went to the
Oh,
Falcon,
100 something millivolt. That's
I-
hilarious.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the first time I went to the Falcon Space Lab in New Jersey, I brought with me something similar, but on a really smaller scale. A little digital clock, like the Casio, but just the clock, attached to two, a copper and a zinc. And I brought with me a lemon. I took it with me. And they're like, "So, what do you work on?" I'm like, "I don't know, just let me show you an experiment." So I brought this thing and I brought the lemon and I stuck the electrodes on one end and I attached the wire from this to the clock and that one to and I told them, "Look, it's working. It's extracting energy from the lemon. Those two metals, when you put them in an acidic state, they make this little clock work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Just organic material."
Yeah.
They just they're like they looked at, and it's a toy. It's a
Yeah.
toy pot. It wasn't anything brilliant that I made, but just its observation of energy could be extracted from organic material. Yeah, you just have to have the right ratios. Mm, right, like your potato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. But by the way, what do you guys think about the asymmetric electrostatic propulsion or force that Bueller calls it? Have you heard of it? Or
Bueller. Bueller.
he claims to have a asymmetric electrostatic charge that creates a force.
Mm.
It does.
Yeah,
What else
it
do you say
does.
about it?
Well, he patented it, and he says he can get 1G, but I just thought I was wondering if you guys heard about it.
No, I didn't hear about it.
No, but anyways, I just think that it's just a different difference in electric potential that is asymmetric, and he claims that it creates a force, but I think it's just a reaction to the ambient electric field that creates either an attraction or repulsion.
Repulsion. Yeah.
So yeah, just a thought.
Yeah,
Is he
it's not
saying
like
he's getting 1 gram of force? Is that what you're saying?
One G, one he can levitate, like counter the Earth's gravity. Uh, he can levitate and stay stable at 1G.
With just electrostatics?
Asymmetric electrostatic uh, charge that creates a force. That's what he claims. But I
Yeah,
think
well, it's important because he has to create a secondary field. And if he didn't, he's not getting that.
a secondary refill. What do you mean?
Well, he's got to hold in the static. Static just blows out. But
yeah,
Yeah.
static takes over everything in your room. So in order to have that, he has to compress the static. So that's why I'm asking how he said he did it, because he's going to have a compression force to hold it in.
Yeah,
Static alone won't do it.
yeah.
Static will
But
create pressure on a scale. That's true, but it won't create anti gravity.
yeah, like Townsend Brown, he was making those electrostatic condensers or capacitors, paraffin wax and tin foil, and he was using tar, and he would just do these layers, and that would hold in an electrostatic charge. That's
Oh
how.
yeah, but that wasn't his only lifting factor.
No, no.
He basically had a Tesla coil down the center of that thing that actually put out a radiant field to hold it in. He would have never been able to hold in the static without it. So
yeah,
even
but
Hutchison used the Tesla coil to do it.
there's already an ambient electric potential on the surface of the Earth, so that asymmetric charge can be affected by this ambient electric voltage potential as well. So it can be affected, but I don't think it's really you can really scale up this technology. Even if it works, it should be hardly scalable, and it's not going to react the same thing at different places on Earth. That's what I think. I think you should try it out at different places on Earth because the electric potential is going to be different.
Yeah.
You know, that's right. I saw a video one time on this, like a really cool video. Somebody stood at the like the center of the equator, and put two bowls, of water, and had a funnel. He opened the funnel. Naturally, the two, like, helixes were opposite. Water took the natural way of, opposite, just because it was right there, whatever the distance was, the equator, that it could, detect the polar, what pole it needs to follow in natural direction. It was detected, like, right there, the south and the north. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it does matter. You're absolutely right. Different regions on Earth.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. But that's what I think. But
Hmm.
just just a heads up here. The 911 guy should be happy. I didn't have time to make calculations this week, so good for you. um, yeah. So Ben, are you back?
So I'm back. I'm just, having trouble with the webcam. That's all.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Well, yeah. I did electrostatic lifters, and they lift up to a certain amount of weight, but it's not very much.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, I remember Joseph Newman back in the day came up with a different type of lifter. What he did was he got a helium balloon, right? And just had enough helium in it, so it was kind of like floating on the ground, but not. And what
Hmm.
he did was he wrapped copper wire around the equator part of the balloon, several turns of this wire. And the second he put voltage, a pulse DC, into that coil, the balloon lifted off the ground. Not only did it lift it off the ground, it had strength. Like he could put stuff on top of the balloon, it would stay aloft.
Wow.
Like,
You know where
yeah.
that video is? Because that would be awesome to see.
No, he never made any videos. There was I'll try to dig into it. I think there was maybe one video of
Hmm.
this. Uh, but he showed this to a couple of professors, and they worked it out, and they said if you had a certain amount of voltage, it could lift about, I don't know, it was a factor of 50 times more weight than, just like having like a hot air balloon, right? Like,
voltage in the helium gas.
well, yeah, he just wrapped a coil around the helium balloon, right?
Okay.
So it had enough weight to it, so before the experiment started, it was on the ground. And the
Yeah.
second he put the pulse DC power through the coil, it lifted off the ground. And then he had another coil in a different direction going the other way. So if he reversed the polarity, he was able to actually change its direction. He was able to manipulate it. So just by switching the polarity,
So by creating
electrical
a magnetic
around the
field around it,
around
he
around the
would
helium,
he would decrease the pressure of the balloon.
or maybe what I'm thinking is, well, the helium atom inside is lighter than air, so that means helium atoms are in motion. So if he was creating some kind of electrostatic or magnetic field around that helium, he was super exciting the molecules within the helium, causing it to rise off the
He
ground.
added heat to helium. to lift.
I don't know if it was heat. I think
Well,
it
if
was
it's got
magnetics.
magnetics in it, there's heat. I can't get
Maybe.
away from it at 10 volts.
Really, eh? So yeah, maybe that's totally possible. Interesting though. When I heard about that, I was like, really? He actually did something like that.
Well, it makes all the sense in the world. You think about it. A hot air balloon is hot air, but helium also lifts. But then hot
No, but
helium atoms should lift even better.
if you increase the energy density, shouldn't it get cooler?
No, because
Hotter?
he's exciting him with a hot field, so it's going to get hot. It's going to be hot inside the balloon.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
going to increase. Let's put it this way: he's going to increase the speed of the energy that's bouncing around in there.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what's going to
Entropy.
happen.
It's like entropy. Just
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting concept. I'd like to actually try that someday.
Yeah, but it makes a lot of sense.
If you
But
compress it and you compress it, like there's something called the Schwinger limit. You can transition states
Yeah.
from, like one state to another just by, like, compressing it. Compression causes heat on its own just because of the particles, you know, bombardment of, electrons. Oh,
Yeah, like I was saying in the pre-show, apparently the U.S. military got weapons we have never seen before. Um, so expect don't expect something out of it, I guess.
Yeah. Probably just another fancy missile or something, huh?
yeah,
They're not going to
or,
show us the real stuff.
Yeah,
or a new
exactly.
or a new drone or something. Or
Oh, well, just like they said, oh, I'm going to tell you all about the drones, right? And then he didn't tell us anything.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Sometimes I feel like it's a game for them. And the game is this: you've got like the science and then the counter science, and and everybody, whoever's in between, and they budget both and whatever, just to see like who's gonna prevail, whether it's whatever. For them it doesn't matter. It's a motion of constant ideas, you know like people actually spending energy, money, whatever it is. For them, that's what creates money.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, like stagnation happens. It people like becomes like dormant. you know
Well,
Yeah.
what I've seen the government do is like that pipe thing, right? You put it out there, they tell you how weak a scalar field is, and they don't even call it that. They call it magnetics like every other moron. And then before you know it, everybody's talking about it, and you don't buy into the brand of BS. You don't get a whole lot of views on it. And if you do, they stroke you a little bit and make sure that you get all the views on YouTube. And that's the way the government does it. They know it's total BS. The person that put it out it knows BS. They just don't want you to do that. They want you to believe in the psyop. So then they get all these big channels. Oh man, this is supposed to be the thing. Well, yeah, because you don't understand physics at all. So you must think it's this greatest thing in the world, right? But they don't understand anything. So that's what they normally do. That's what I see the government doing over and over and over again. They'll find the new greatest thing, and it's a garbage piece of junk.
what if it's done on purpose because you
It
want
is
for like for it to get rolled into the industrial economic value system, and then one is the real research, the real deal,
because
not
they're going to drown
you
out anybody doing the real work.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I understand the both world of you need the somewhat the economy to, but at the same time you want the research to prevail over the monetary part, because
I mean,
that's what keeps us.
normally we would if you really wanted the science to work, but if you just wanted it to go away, then you would drown it out with a bunch of garbage. So that everybody gets on your channel and says, "Man, that pipe experiment's so much better than what you're doing," and then you'll have a bunch 500 morons do that in a row.
Yeah.
Oh, it happens all day, man.
Yeah, I know. Or you make it a fashion, or it's a fashion to do that.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
mainstream fashion.
Gonna tell Ben we can give Linderbot a new pipe. Just remember, it has to be at a certain direction in the air to pick up a lot of energy.
I don't know. We already blow enough smoke up his ass.
Oh,
Uh,
oh man, you got a 3D print a Linderbot in your lab, Ben. That'd be awesome.
did you try I guess you tried the Tesla gun this week, the Tesla rocket launcher.
That'd be cool, man.
Yeah.
Benefactor Hill.
Hey Ben, why don't you present that video of your lab while you're getting your stuff together? Can you do that?
Yeah, I gave up on the webcam, but yeah, I can present the video for sure.
Yeah, because it looks cool.
Yeah, I don't think the webcam's gonna work because the device is already entangled with my streaming software, and I couldn't get it untangled. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
It depends on its mood.
Yeah, it's very temperamental today.
I tell you, Linderbot's got control now. He's the AI running Ben's show.
Ben's got to wear that hat that Benny Hill used to wear.
I want to show you this. This is the moon behind me.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, isn't it the full moon tonight?
I don't know, but it's really pretty.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay, we go. This is the new lab. Cool.
I love that neon sign. It's in your DNA. I love it. It makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, it was neat when I saw it.
Got the pegboard and everything.
Yeah.
That's a lightning thief circuit. I'll be able to work on these prototypes and get them out hopefully within the next few weeks. So
Cool.
everything's looking good. I just
Nice.
need I ordered a 3D printer, a new one, so waiting for that to come in. The old one, it still needs to be repaired, but it's still good. I'm gonna give it to a friend who's gonna be helping me with these experiments and projects.
Cool.
I don't have space in it for my apartment. There's too much shit here.
Yeah, I got the same issue. You're in the garage, right, Nathan? That's where you put.
Yeah, I got all kinds of room, but almost. Then
Yeah.
all my stuff piles up like everybody else. So, yeah, I got a whole wall for my printers, man.
Yeah, I'd love to have. Well, with Sheeny, he'll be able to help me and print at the same. We'll be able to print at the same time. It's just
Nice.
I don't have enough space to have two printers, but I would love to. That would be awesome. Honestly, the ideal situation is to have like at least three, so you can have a few of them in case it messes up.
Like a backup plan B printer.
Yeah, especially if you're under time constraints and stuff, because those prints can take a long time. But yeah, no, having multiple printers definitely is the goal. Now, I'm not going to stay here forever, so.
Nice.
Oh, what's happening with your gravity well there, Nathan?
Not much, man. I changed a bunch of stuff, and it's operational, and all the things are on it. So it's ready to go. I just haven't had the time. I've been setting up the new channels, so I haven't been able to work. So
Yeah, there's not enough hours in the day, as it were.
no, I was up at what was it, 10 o'clock last night doing more testing just to get some in, and then I went back to bed for another 4 hours and got up and started working on the channel again. So That's difficult.
Yeah, you gotta prioritize.
Your wife must think you're crazy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I make in a month what I usually make in an hour. So she just said, "Go back to work." I don't want to. Yeah, I'm done with that. I can't do it anymore. So yeah, I went around for the last month with my wrist all messed up. Like I couldn't do anything. I could pick it. I had no strength in it. Nothing. So and before that, my foot went out. Dude, it's like when you get older, it just compounds like daily. And I'm like, dude, give me a little break here.
Put the Tesla coil around your wrist and charge it up.
Yeah, I wish it all was that easy. I'd end up shooting lightning bolts out of my hands. That'd be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I would do that just to spoof people. You know what I mean? Just to have like, you know what I mean? Like an emperor robe on and just start messing with them out of my hands. That'd be
But
awesome.
there are claws you can buy that sends electric charges for bears or dogs and animals, stuff like that. People who want to attack you. So you buy these things and you start electrocuting
Yeah,
people.
you should do that. You should put wires from it to a little potato and say people it's powered by this
Chicken lunch. I like how you think,
you,
Ben.
you call yourself Super Potato Man.
Super potato.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's funny.
Can you imagine you watch the news, the local news in Los Angeles? There's a guy thinks he's Super Potato Man.
Super potato man.
Oh, that's so great. Oh,
Uh,
man.
Uh, have you done any crazy videos, Nathan? Like a new Star Trek episode?
No, I haven't.
No.
I'll be honest with you, man. You know, it's kind of hard. Uh, you know, usually everybody's in the stream and says a bunch of stuff, so I usually take it and twist it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's a
So,
great part with AI now. You can do that. Oh, I seen this. Oh, Ben, it was on your channel of Obama talking about free energy and all
oh
this.
yeah,
Yeah,
I like that. That was
that's the
that looked
speech that
real.
he should have gave.
Yeah.
Dirty bastard.
Yeah,
oh
but
my
it's
god.
just it's scary how AI can manipulate any person now. It's crazy, eh?
Oh, dude, Joe sent me one of AOC talking about Trump and Melania, and let's just say it was the dirty version.
oh
Yeah, not appropriate for TV, but was hilarious.
So same
Yeah.
thing with Ovechkin versus Gretzky. They trash talk each other. It's so funny, man.
Yeah, I seen the one there on Facebook you sent me. That was pretty.
Yeah. But there's one for Ovechkin and another one for Gretzky, so it's pretty funny.
And some people buy into it. They actually think it's real, like
Oh
because
yeah,
because people are the AI is getting so good now, right? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I had to put a disclaimer on the description of the video and everything,
oh
so
wow.
people understand. Like this isn't real. This is just a hypothetical conversation that should have happened.
Oh man.
It's crazy. How would you regulate something like that, though?
Well, it's it's an interesting question. Very
The only, the
interesting.
only way, the only way I think you can regulate it is by watermarking every video, so you know which one is original and which one
Yeah,
is
yeah,
is
I'm not
not.
sure, but I think a lot of those celebrities, or at least some of them, sold their digital image to some
Hmm.
of those companies, but not all of them. and not all of those people sold all of their, their rights. So something fishy's going on. It needs to be regulated to a certain extent,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
remember, sorry, Back to the Future, the actor sued because they used his face in a movie. This is going to be
Oh
no different.
yeah, that's right.
what Michael J. Fox or
No, no, the guy
What
that
Crispin or was it? What's his
just
name? Something Crispin.
yeah, the guy
No.
that played the husband, the nerdy husband.
oh
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that guy. He was only in the first movie, and he wasn't in the other ones.
Mm,
What happened? He sued the.
He sued him for using his face without him getting paid.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
mm.
So this is going to be the same thing with AI. You're going to be using somebody's face without them getting paid, so they're going to sue you.
Yeah,
So they sue based not on principality, but rather for monetary, not because they're trying to prove a point, or not because they're, it's immoral or this or that, like, like to argue a different, no, no, just because they want to gain monetarily. Wow.
Yeah, some people just want to get paid.
Well, I don't blame the guy, man. They used his face. I mean,
Hmm.
they should have cast somebody else and been done with it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I thought,
yeah,
like, according to computer science, they could actually, know the origin, where, who, and what IP address, what computer, what serial number created this. So they kind of know already, who the creator of that is, right?
Mm.
No, but that's what they do with watermarking. They can trace. They can tell if the video is original or not, and if it's not, then it's
Yeah,
should
they
be.
can put some kind of digital fingerprint, like a watermark or something, even if it's unseeable in their algorithm for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe they already have. We just don't know it. I don't know. But I see what I do see is an irresponsible use of this. I don't know if you guys get the ads for sometimes they're Joe Rogan ads, but they're
yeah, I
not
see them
him.
all the
It's the
time.
AI, and
Yeah,
it's like a total scam, and it's not something he endorsed or anything.
Wow.
exactly. Yeah, it's gonna get crazy. I think it's gonna get worse, especially like during like elections. All the Chinese could try to influence the Canadian
Yeah.
politics and all this
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, they're gonna be even more aggressive with the United States since because of the tariff and things like that.
Mm. So it just means more rules on YouTube, more things to follow.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
YouTube is already controlled by the elites.
Oh yeah.
Do you think we're being conditioned into a specific language model, you know? And we're like little guinea pigs. They give us a little treat for following that conditioning. I mean, right? I mean, that's how I see it. Like, they give you value for the views, but they don't give you the value for what you are, your content. Because the real value is in the content, not the views, you know? That's where, like, I have a kind of dilemma on about some platforms. Like, what is their objective at the end? Like, promotion of a
They
system that
they
they've already drawn,
they,
or
uh, they, they, they they already have an agenda like plan plan like 20 years ahead. So don't worry about that. They know exactly. Even with the AI and they they're just gonna control AI for disinformation. For their disinformation agenda. So they people in power, they don't want to lose their power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll do everything not to lose their position.
you know what? But I think the big problem too is technology is surpassing everybody right now. You got all this stuff coming up, and now you got all this new tools for propaganda and all that. You
Hmm.
know, and it can be weaponized. It can be, a lot of negative stuff is coming out of this technology that's coming out so fast. It just seems like every day there's something new come out. Actually, this week I saw a caption on the news. Somebody in China got basically brain cells, grew them in a petri dish, and connected it to the computer, and he was actually able to store data in live biological brain cells.
Hmm.
Oh, cool.
I would have
Interesting.
vomit. Ew.
No, but this is crazy stuff. Like now they're interfacing a computer and interfacing it with a neural network of brain cells. And they're growing these brain cells in a lab. This is crazy. This is actually
Well, they already have the AI algorithm with computer algorithms, so it's just a matter of linking it with biological. It's the same thing with biological neurons, but um, it's just faster with the computer, obviously. But
Hmm.
to get to our brain, they're gonna have to bridge the
And
two
it's
this
not
way.
real human DNA or not real human brain tissue. It's
no, it
just
is.
no.
No,
You
it
said
is.
it's printed. It's like like DNA printed.
No. It's grown. It's actually grown in a petri
Hmm.
dish.
Oh my god.
That reminds
Yeah,
me of the Black Mirror episode. I don't know, the new season just came out, and
yeah,
it's really, really a dark reflection of what's going on. Some of it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
They say they will be able to clone humans in a couple of years.
Like
We're very close to that.
they want to like
but should
seek
we?
out like the real Hannibal Lecter, I guess. Like the movie.
Yeah,
Like
Hmm.
Doctor
Yeah.
Lecter.
yeah.
It's gonna be bad.
But
Oh,
that was in
Professor
the
Lecter.
yeah, but the movie was in the 90s. You know, in the 90s it was just much scarier than these days. You know, there's a lot of a lot more isolated freaks that would do weird stuff like that back in the days than these days. You know, these days everybody knows everything, but back in the days we didn't know everything, and it was kind of creepier. You know what I mean? To
Hmm.
normal as well to see people like that creepy as well.
Yeah, everybody's so nosy with their phones nowadays. You can't get
Yeah,
away with
exactly.
shit.
Like in pop culture there are like iconic moments like in the film world or in the theatrics or sports that you remember them because they have impact on on whatever it is. And so certain like gruesome images like this like stick even if it's from a movie.
Yeah.
Or Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so okay, now besides the gooey and Halloween stuff, but that's a really cool really cool thing for people that actually have had damages in that in their in their brain that could repair a lot of areas people that maybe have thought not usable anymore and their biology, right? I mean it does have a very it qualifies for a very good scientific evolution of the science because it could help tremendously everyone like
I heard also they were able to make blind people see again.
yeah,
I,
maybe like repairing the optic cord. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
they were able to replace the eyes or regrow the roots of the eyes. So that's pretty cool. Even cancer, I see cures for cancer like
Oh,
three
don't go down that road, please.
three times a week. So, anyways,
Sorry, YouTube is going to be all over us. Mike, your volume's not on.
Yeah. So yeah, stay away from that, please.
That's
oh
like a trigger word for them.
yeah, oh yeah.
yeah.
I have to go
Just
back and
We're
erase that
talking
now.
about astrology. I don't know. We're talking about astrology. And
No,
you've
you
got
know.
the whole zodiac. It's just part one of part, a section of this.
Oh, we're at the whims of the algorithm. The algorithm sometimes is stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, you got to play by the rules in order to keep playing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna scoot out for a quick smoke. I'll be right back.
How much do you want us to go off the rails while you're not here?
What was that?
So there
Just
was a
a,
space station that's going to be our 7-Eleven. We're going to drop poo to the planet, Mike.
Oh my god!
That's where we're going while you're gone.
All right, I'll be back.
He said, the hell with it. I'm out of here. Oh, man, I was just joking. But that was a funny episode, man, when we did that. That was hilarious. Oh, here we go. Jeremiah says down the hatch. By the way, Jeremiah, I'd love to know what you're doing over there, man. He's got some sonic thing working that's super loud. Yeah. And something about some taste. I don't know. I'm kind of lost. I'm listening to you guys and watching that, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they're debating something in the chat, I guess.
Yeah. He said send him a link. Well, as soon as Mike gets here, we'll send it to you. It's on his channel, so. Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Because I'd like to know what it is. He's always got something going on. Oh, man.
I
So,
was
Ben, you got that. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying. I was so happy this morning when I thought that I made a mistake in my calculations, but unfortunately I did not. But I did. I did realize that at the atomic level, nothing is working if I don't tweak the constant or the speed of the electron around an atom. Like really, nothing is working. But anyways, I'm just speculating here. I'll come back next week with more clear facts than speculations today.
Yeah, you'll get it.
are we talking on the level of like mesons measuring and their
Yeah,
effect on time or
what I was talking about last week about the electrons around the quarks and the behaviors of the atomic level, but um, it's just too vague in my head. But I just didn't have time to work on that this week. But next week I'll get back to you guys with clearer stuff.
Right on.
Yeah.
And that's for your
Thanks.
force field technology? Is that what you said?
Sorry.
You said force field technology?
No, just the basic atomic calculations because I'm trying to reproduce atoms. Ideally, I would be able to reproduce metamaterials. That's my ultimate goal to simulate metamaterials. But
You realize, Phil, with the right processing power, you could have created the foundation for the ultimate virtual reality.
yeah, but I'm able to reproduce atoms, but I can't use the mainstream numbers. If I use the mainstream numbers, I get garbage. I get electrons that don't stay in orbit. They just go too fast or something like that. But the mainstream is really messed up. But whatever they teach us is wrong. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
but isn't like the furthest point and the closest point would become a measurement metric of a spectrum, that this is the furthest it was able to reach, even if it's chaotic, but it still gives parameters,
Yeah, yeah. So, but the way I see an atom is something very solid, but when I'm simulating it, it's very fragile. The electron can lose their orbit very easily. So there's something missing. I know there's a Pauli principle that keeps the electrons in orbit. But Pauli principle, it's just a patch they added on top of nuclear physics. They can't explain what it is. They just say, well, there's a Pauli principle where two particles of the same state cannot have the
The
same position and cannot have the same state.
the
So
Pauli exclusion
yeah,
principle.
exactly. Yeah. So they just add these patches on top of these patches, and now it's just it's just but they can't explain what the Pauli principle is or why it exists. So um, that's that's my state of mind. A little bit confused now, but I'll try to sort it out by next week because there's a lot of people tonight, and I wish I had the answer tonight, unfortunately. But
If I want to think in computer science and discrete physics and mathematics, it's a backdoor key to
yeah,
a
but
whole system of equation.
that's what
And
that's what quantum mechanics is. It's discrete mathematics. They just use a quantum fancy word to scare people off, but it's very simple. It's not complicated. Um, but yeah, man. Damn it, I had too much work this week. I
Yeah, they always make something to patch something, man, when it doesn't work. That's how you
Yeah,
know they're BSing you.
I know. So, so you have all these rules and regulations because but they basically can't explain why things are the way they are.
Yep.
will they take an explanation? That's the real question.
No, they don't want to. They don't want to question their credentials. They don't want to. They don't want to endanger their position or anything like that. Their credentials and they don't want to risk anything. That's the basic. That's the academia. The academia, they don't want to risk anything. That's what it is. It's the uh, anti-risk group of people. That's what it is.
They stick their fingers in their ears and say, "Nah, nah, 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 nah. I'm not listening."
Exactly what they're doing.
Exactly. You see, couldn't have said it better.
Yeah. But like
They're not
Carol,
willing to change the metric measurements of things, even in theoretical physics and theorems.
Yeah,
They don't want to change the values because they're,
exactly.
like they're stubborn on, their science that's so outdated, like so
Yeah.
outdated.
Oh yeah. That's the other thing I want to say tonight. I just remembered. Um, I figured I was listening to Dr. Hunziker, and based on what he was saying, apparently, did you know that the Nobel Prize, not the Nobel Prize, the peer review system, the modern peer review system exists since 1940. So since 1940, they started sorting out papers, but before 1940, you could publish anything you wanted. And after 1940, they said, oh, it goes against Einstein, then we're going to reject your paper.
Ah, the great cosmic filter.
Yeah, it's it started being like that since 1940. So that's why any garbage like before that could be published, including Einstein's papers. And after that, you couldn't question the foundation of physics. So that's the root of the problem right there.
Yep, a physics blocker.
Yeah, the stupid peer review system.
Well, peer
Yeah.
something like it would mean that they have to be from the same, like, let's say, schooling system. which is still like part of a pyramid, educational, questionable scheme. That
Except for Einstein.
I'm serious. Like this is like it's their whatever, like the Masons or the third degrees or 20, like whatever that, whenever that started, that's when it, like the academia became a controlled amount of knowledge that they're going to impart onto people, and some of it is completely incorrect, and they're conditioned not to question these
Oh,
questions, and they don't, and they monopolize on their economic status, whether because they hold the keys to collapse it. So the means to even try to prove these experiments in real life, it becomes very difficult because of economic policies and whatever
Yeah,
they are doing, on the under, behind the scenes to people. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, they're the gatekeepers. They
Yeah.
are guarding all the doors. They are holding all the keys.
hmm.
yeah.
So how do we counteract these gatekeepers? We gotta be silent. We gotta be silent for like a couple of years, and then just
Phil, what are you, my
appear.
grandmother? Sorry, but
There's different
seriously,
methods, I
like,
guess.
like it's like, how do you do something? You don't wait. You continue to be proactive in your stance on things. You don't duck. Like, you had a great idea. You went and you presented it. It's something revolutionary. You stick to your idea. You were physically there. You have time stamped by the highest authorities of any department in the United States that you had patent rights on presenting your idea. You have proof. They can't deny it. So whatever comes out later, you have already, presented your idea like in front of everybody that would be interested in, whatever they think is the impossible. You know.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, my goal was to kick people in the butt a little bit, like by saying, "Here's here's what we can do. Either you're with me or without me, but it's gonna get done either way." You know what I mean? I want things to move forward. I was so tired of being that's part of my main motivation. I was so tired of being stagnant and wondering and hoping that being stuck in a vicious circle in science, basically. So I was so tired of that. So that's the idea. Either these people are with me or they're without me, but doesn't matter because we're gonna move forward either way.
Damn right.
Jeremiah just sent you a link if you want to join us.
Right on. Cool.
today I was telling my kids about, a few people, including Mike, that lost their jobs today, and it hurt me on like on the inside. And then I saw something on CNN, like somebody sneaking a video from the Oval Office about, the president speaking to a financial institution. I don't want to like get us banned, but a financial institution leader, or owner of this, and they were laughing that, with the executive orders that he's implementing are creating such a dramatic fluctuation in the economy that they haven't seen since the 1950s, and it's making people so much money. And like, okay, so I was reading I wanted to become a financial advisor at one point, and so I read the Securities Exchange Commission bylaws, and what he's doing is like insider information, and that is like one of the biggest a position where you are privy to such information, and you manipulate it, in a way where you make your friends, family, children, husbands, wives, neighbors, whatever, like you use it for wrong. You understand, like this is some, like you've got millions of people lives in your hands, and you're playing yo-yo with it. Like, what the hell, man? you know
Basically, yeah. basically.
Sorry, but it hurt my feelings, and I'm sorry for like a lot of you gentlemen have major stories just recently because of all of this. Not that I haven't, but and I think I told you off camera, but it's affecting everyone. You know, yeah. I mean, they're making us busy with our livelihoods to the point we neglect the science world because we have to like run just to eat. That's the truth. It's an enslavement system. It's a tactic. It's
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's a strategy. Like books are written about these kind of political maneuvers and strategy on, and they teach this in their dark world. Not so
Yeah, and
good.
I felt like a slave for a long time for the last 20 years, and that's why I started my business. But um,
Well,
I
I
know what
think
you mean.
Well, you know what? I think some good stuff can come out of this. People will have to reinvent themselves. More entrepreneurs are going to be born out of this
Yeah,
because
exactly.
obviously the old structure, the old model, they want to destroy that. So this could spark a lot of innovation, right? Um,
Yeah,
not just way we do business, but also in the tech area. So building high tech systems for the future, energy systems, what we're working on, anti-gravity or whatever, right? So hopefully something really bad has to happen before something good can come out of it. So maybe
yeah,
this is the bad starting right now, right?
It's just
yeah,
it's not fair. Like the purpose should be a bit more noble. That's all.
Well, the problem is
yeah,
you got less than 1% of the world's population with 90% of the world's wealth. There's something wrong there. There's a severe imbalance, and there's always going to be power struggles, and we see it in our world right now. All the wars going on, and the Trump tariffs, and all this stuff. When we could be focusing on the science,
yeah.
focusing on innovation,
No, but
focusing on, you know what I
just
mean?
just imagine they were able to control Tesla 100 years ago. Can you imagine all the interest they gain since 100 years? All the money they have aside. They're like
Yeah,
100 million times more powerful than they used to be.
yeah, and that's wrong.
I'm a true believer. If the science that they're playing with is supposed to read like emotional states such as true intent, real purpose, you know, motivation, inertial energy, all of these concepts, then they can't, like, even on a system level, deny it. It's gonna, have its readings. So they could say whatever they want, but if even the science that they control emits a something that they can't even explain, it cannot be deniable. It's like a gap in time that they want to delete. It's not
Oh my
possible.
God, Gerald's here.
Oh yeah, Gerald the man. Is he gonna hop on?
I don't know. I gave him a link.
Nice.
Come on,
Yeah,
Gerald.
I thought I saw
Gerald.
Bernie in the chat too. Did
Yeah,
Bernie show up?
Bernie's there.
Yeah, Bernie's here.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, Bernie
hop
said he'd
on.
be on in a bit.
Yeah, I've sent all the links out. Hopefully, Jeremiah will pop on too.
Phil, what if we take your experiment, but not on the equator, on where the time zone changes between Russia and Alaska? That little, like, 2.5 mile thing.
Yeah.
What kind of measurements do you think you're gonna get there?
We're gonna get cold, that's for sure.
No, no.
Apparently,
Think about the time. Like, cause
Kind of
time
measuring you doing there in the cold.
is, you know.
there's a massive pyramid in Alaska.
Oh
That
yeah?
was yeah. Apparently, it's bigger than the one in Giza.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh.
and apparently it's basically under black program and it's being protected and nobody knows about it, but there's a few people coming out about this pyramid that's concealed. It's in Alaska,
Is it
and
buried under
apparently
the ice?
It's in a mountain, apparently.
In a mountain.
Well,
Interesting.
why is everything cool and awesome in the United States and in Canada? There's nothing. It's all boring.
Well, it's pretty damn close to us.
Yeah, but
Well,
still not
see,
in
you should
Canada.
be. You should want to be a part of the 51st state. Then you can be cool and get some privilege.
Oh man.
Your luck would turn around. See a bunch of
I
black
just
projects you didn't know about.
You
Yeah,
could just view it
me.
as the United States is Canada's extremity.
Extremity. Okay, we could go right off the rails on that one. Let's just. This is a family
Ben got a
show.
new tape measure for his lab. He wanted to show it off.
No. We might be
Oh.
Canadian, but we carry a big stick. Oh man. Sorry.
Yeah, look how big it is, eh?
Yeah, eh? It's over a foot.
You guys got Dr. Lecter, you got like all the cool people, and all we have here is Jim Carrey or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, well, we had John Candy. Come on.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
Don Kenny was awesome.
right. Yeah.
Rick
Dude, the one with the
Moranis
bear was
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorite one.
The Great Outdoors.
Yes, with the
Oh,
light
one of
bulb on the end, and he
one
blew
of
the hair off the bear's butt.
Oh my God, one of the best movies ever. The Great Outdoors.
Shit.
Oh God, that show was legendary.
Oh, what about what was it, Christmas Vacation, where the guy dumped his RV into the gutter?
Oh, was that Planes, Trains, Automobiles?
No, that was like Christmas Vacation,
National Lampoons, yeah.
National
Yeah,
Lampoon. Yeah,
yeah, but that's Chevy Chase though. He's American. Yeah,
I still thought it was funny.
yeah, it was good.
I remember the what was it, the promo pic that you did for the thumbnail, and you took a clip from that the box art or something, and you put your face on it. It looks so hilarious, where he's being shocked by the Christmas lights.
Oh, it was great.
Gerald's here.
What's up, Gerald?
Hey, Big Gerald.
Hey, Gerald.
Big G.
Big G.
We heard we were measuring, so we had to get on.
Can you hear
What
me
was that?
now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So can you hear
we
me?
can
All right.
hear you, but we can't see you. Where are you, man?
Well, before I stick my ugly mug on there, I gotta I gotta share a screen. Mike, can I share a screen?
You may.
Just
Oh
kidding.
boy. Rubber room.
Hang on. Let's see here.
Jeremiah wants a link, I think.
Yeah, I sent one to him.
Oh, where's the window? Where's the window? I don't know why it's not doing what I want it to do. Hang on here.
Share screen.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is my opinion and doesn't necessarily mean that the people on this panel share the same opinion. So, that being said, I'll play my video.
No sound.
Oh,
No sound?
No sound.
Okay, I gotta fix that. How do I
Salvatore
fix that?
Pius. The Pius effect.
You need the sound. It's important.
I
Hang
think
on.
your sound is muted
Um,
on the
do I
video
gotta
player
present
itself.
again?
Yeah, you might have to shut the present down and make sure the audio switch is on. It's in the
Okay.
bottom right corner, I believe. Present the audio. Amateur.
I'm on live, Austin. I don't know why it's not doing that. Share screen.
Right. In the bottom right
Oh,
corner,
there
it'll
it
say
is.
audio. Yeah, make sure that audio thing is on.
I don't see the share audio. It says share tab and screen instead.
Okay, just try it again.
Can you just send the link to Mike and he can play
Can
it?
you hear it?
No.
No.
Not really.
Send the link
Mother!
to Mike. Send the link to Mike.
Is it
I can't.
online?
It's on my computer laptop.
Oh,
It's
it's not
pretty funny too. It sucks.
What do you say?
Well, see,
Yeah, do the lip sync.
it's kind of important that you hear it. I don't know why I'm not seeing that. That it says to share audio, share a tab or screen instead.
Share screen. Do share screen.
Okay.
All right. And click on the video. The video should show up. Like have the video up on your screen when you do it.
Yep.
And if
I
that
got
doesn't
that.
work, try a different video player too.
Oh yeah, maybe, eh? Okay, I'll try it. Can you hear that?
Very little.
Faintly.
Yeah, increase the volume.
Yeah, I can't. That's wait, maybe. Let's try this.
Put on your subwoofer or something.
And certain things come into fruition
Okay,
rather
that's better.
than
Okay,
That's better? Okay, so here.
Okay.
I'll go back and I'll share. This one's for you, Sal!
and certain things come into fruition rather than to being. And may not be so transparent with it. There are ways.
Wait for it.
There are other ways than taking a third of the host of heaven to start a war. There are other ways to dethrone God.
That's what he wanted to share, the throne God by starting a war by saying aliens are coming?
That's what I wanted to share. As far as I'm concerned, Sal, you're a fucking hack. That's my opinion, and only my opinion.
Wow.
Am I done presenting? Is it off?
It never went on.
We could hear
never
it, but we didn't
presented
see
it?
it.
We could hear it, but we couldn't see the video.
Oh, that sucks because it was awesome cut, man. I'm telling you.
How did he connect science to God all of a sudden? I don't understand how he made that connection.
How did he tie what?
Science to God, or dethroning God.
He believes that the science that he has come up with will take down a third of the hosts of heaven and dethrone God. So yeah, his arrogance and
Wow.
hubris is bigger than his fat ass.
The only thing he keeps talking about the super force. The super
that's
force. The
Go ahead.
super force. All it is the Planck linear energy density. Is the maximum force that you can have in the solar system.
Which was what everybody considered the ether prior to what? Prior to Tesla. And when
exactly.
Steinmetz took over and redid the math, he was constituted by all of his little physics buddies to write the math out of all of the books. And that was the math that was considered classified by the United States government. So, yeah. I don't believe in Sal's bullshit, that whole super force stuff. That's just another name for the same thing we all use all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody's falling for it.
I know.
The reason why you shouldn't is because if he manages to convince the scientific community and everybody else that the super force is real, you're not going to allow to make any device that has anything to do with the super force or the Planck scale because they have a patent on it.
Oh man, that's bullshit.
It's a big game to fuck everybody over. And if you listen to the interview carefully, he talks about AI and says, no, we're not allowed to use AI because it can be used against you. Everything you say to AI is now proprietary to the company that owns that AI. So everybody giving up all their physics, going to AI and going, hey, can you figure this out or figure that out? You just gave them the legal right and intellectual property of everything you've just done. And
Wow.
that's what the research says, and Sal proved it in that interview. So
What a better way to program their system.
exactly. And not only that, to
Like,
steal intellectual rights from
you
you,
program their
me, and
system.
everybody else there that uses AI or even talks to
Daniel,
AI.
you're
Saying,
banging on with the AI stealing everything, my man. That's genius. And
of
why
course,
you
it's
got to be
genius.
careful.
I don't know.
It's genius, all right. I'm telling you, I wouldn't use it. You couldn't pay me enough.
Hmm.
But I don't need the money, so it doesn't matter.
Man, I used it. Like, I used it, and it got me to something called the Josephson Junction.
Oh yeah, all the Josephson Junction is
It,
basically the energy that tunnels through a whole. Go ahead.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but can you understand like the how you could build upon that? Like you can transmit from, like, it's a conversion thing from one
Mhm.
system to another. You
Yep.
know,
That's
like
what happens on the outside of the coil system. There's a
yeah,
Josephson junction that comes through the outside to the ferrite cores that I put on the outside of the coil. That's what they consider a Josephson junction between, like, because you're able to absorb that energy on the outside. I've now got it to the point where I can go from room to room and just point the coils, identical coils, mind you, at each other, one room to the other, and collect energy in the other coil. It's at that stage now. So it's just a matter of resonance and having the exact identical coil built that's in resonance with the first one. You know what I mean? I show a little bit of it on my channel. I pulse the primary of this one and the secondary of this one, and I collect the power from a ferrite rod in the center, but it's really close. It's like maybe an inch apart from the rod. The experiments I'm doing now, the distance is just, it's insanity. So Sal is right about the fact that this tech exists. What he's not telling the truth about is that that tech has been held by the United States Navy since 1943. And they were just looking for the right person to bring it out, slap their name on it, and say, here you go. Now you're working with us. You have a patent under your name in the United States Navy. And really, it all goes back to Otis T. Carr and Nikola Tesla's work on UFOs. Well, if you want to call it that. But
okay. What would stop them from, driving by anybody's house, having that capability of information extraction, because that's what it is, and then, because it's in the same proximity of what you're describing,
yeah.
right? And, they've
So
got,
what would stop them from taking it from you? Is that what you mean?
yeah, like, like whatever they couldn't collect in other means, that's how they could collect by, creating a field, like, but it requires information transmission. That's what a field is, not just,
You're not wrong, actually. You're not
yeah,
wrong at all. But
I,
that mostly goes to digital and being able to see into the room. Like, you couldn't see my papers because they're all flipped upside down and there's books on top of them. So that it's kind of like a remote viewing session, right? They can see everything on the surface and everything that's able to be seen, but they can't flip through anything. They can't look into anything.
yeah, but they can rewind in time, and before you flipped it, that was all it's registered somewhere else.
I don't know if that's possible just yet. That's an interesting concept. I don't think they could
It's like the
do
quantum
just.
eraser state. It's the
Yeah, I
quantum
don't think they're there
eraser.
yet. I know
Yeah.
what you mean, but I don't think they could be, but I don't think they're there yet.
Okay.
They definitely know how to play with time.
No, there's
They
something
proved it.
called a beam splitter, and it could split into two different routes. and then that one, whatever detector detects one, it collapses the other,
Okay,
but
so
still it could be
time
measured.
splits into two routes when you're playing with it. But time is an energy, and there's levels of energy within that time. It's not just times this energy. No, time has levels of energy within the flow of time itself. So when you use or start playing with time, it splits. So there's a positive and a negative, so to speak, right? You can't go back in time, but like you had said, you can see back in time, but you have to have that connection. And it has to be from that point source where it's split so that you can look back or look forward or look at that present point. But you can't just look into somebody's timeline and look backwards. There's a whole thing involved with it. And there's the amount of energy you have to use to connect to that time, that resonance, and that energy in that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does,
I've
because
been playing with this stuff for a few years, so I know where to go with it. Sorry.
like the whole idea is to prove it wrong, that you could have two different fields, one that detects one timestamp
Mm-hmm.
and the one that they thought was erased, you know on like it's to do the reconciling of
I see
whatever.
what you mean, but you would have to be able to see all time, everywhere, at all time in that very split second, and that's I
AKA
don't think
God.
there's a computer possible to do that other
God.
than God himself.
Yeah, God,
You know,
or supposed God technologies that Sal was trying to claim.
oh, come on, Sal's a hack. God technologies. You can fucking come on. Super Force? What is he? Flash Gordon? Come on! You could kill God. I don't think so, buddy. Or even dethrone God. I don't think so. Must be
Sounds
because
like
he's
a
Yeah.
pretty
what's that?
sounds like a pretty satanic sort of philosophy,
Hey
dethroning
man, if you
God
believe
thing.
that the fallen
Antichrist.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you believe that the fallen angels are what created you, that says it all right there.
It's like
Go
it's like
ahead, have fun, good luck, enjoy
it's
your
like,
green men.
it's like the Higgs boson. They call it the God particle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stay out of the
Exactly.
whole I try and stay out of the physics definitions of all what CERN has done. Because it's you know what, it's just another way of justifying some other guy's job for the next 15 years and another college group of people on writing papers on a whole bunch of bullshit that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, what is a quark, a zork, a torque, whatever that they've got, a boson, a bison, all those things? What does it have to do with what we do today? Is it going to turn on my lights? Is it going to what create gold out of thin air? None of that shit matters if you can't apply it in an everyday sense. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they use it
Very
for,
opinionated tonight.
Gerald,
Sorry.
they use it for a controlled digital system, like what your
Just like they
computers
use
are made out of, what your TVs are made out of, what your cell phones are made of, like anything.
just
And so, like, that's, they create like systems with this, like
CERN?
diagrams for.
No. It's engineers and it's inventors that create systems that work like this. CERN
Yeah.
is just a big, I don't know, circle jerk of physicists that like to create papers out of thin air.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my opinion, but
No,
move
but
on,
it's
right? I'm
true.
a
It's true.
nobody.
I mean, I
It
would
don't
like to
matter.
believe. I would like to believe this, that
They
there.
also seem to be opening portals, though, from what's
Well,
documented.
that's
Okay,
Yeah.
but
debatable. It's
wouldn't you think?
possible, but
This
debatable.
Wouldn't you guys think it would be cool to, really filter out all of the fluff in humanity and have a core, seeding atomic structure of rebuilding humanity, and like knowing, with a certain thing, whether we're made out of stardust, that somehow on the deepest of subatomic levels, that humanity is going to thrive somewhere
The,
else.
the
You
only
know,
way you could do that is to have absolute truth, and people will not accept the truth. They won't. Because
Yeah,
if you
people.
accept the truth, you have to accept the fact that you lied sometime in your life, maybe stole sometime in your life, maybe you fucked over a best friend sometime in your life. To have the absolute truth, to know what you're talking about, you got to have the truth about everything.
All right,
So
I
people
could
don't
give you a
want to
better.
look at
I
themselves in
could
that
give you
manner.
a
So
better one. All the above is true, but that doesn't, negate the fact that we're built on our atomic level structure, to survive. And if we, on that atomic level structure of all of humanity, if we preserve, that would help us, evolve on other planet systems, other cosmos, other,
well,
planetary
what
systems.
what if I was to say to you that it's written and that it's well known, but we're all lied to so much it's insane. We're actually made of light.
Yeah.
And if
People.
we were to evolve into light, you could travel to far stars and galaxies and you wouldn't need a ship. You would
Yeah,
just go.
and the speed of light is not a limit by far. It's just an amount of energy that the electron has in the positron. When
Well,
when they annihilate, they convert into the energy is converted into kinetic energy, but it's not a limit. It's just you're not gonna create. You're not gonna travel in the past if you go faster than light. That's total
Okay.
bullshit.
On an
you
atomic
can pause
structure,
time, you can't go
our
backward.
brain emits biophotons. Our eyes emit biophotons. They emit a sequence. And so even when we look at a planetary system that's really far and we focus on it, it's emitting biophotons of energy towards that. They travel
Okay.
faster than light. And our energy already has reached otherwhere on the, the biophoton level. We were already there, but I'm saying on our real level, like it would be nice if we, like really do a project like that goes global of, and we
Do you
call
want
it
to
like
know
global
you want to know why
recognition.
I think that project will never come to fruition? Because it's based on E equals MC squared. And
No,
E
plus
equals MC squared is
power
like
of
a
three.
prison. It's like a prison. It stops you from doing anything. You can never find more energy out than, oh, don't do that. You can't do that. E equals MC squared says no. But E equals MC squared was written as a linear expression of something in the vacuum, not everyday life
Yeah,
of something that's nonlinear.
the
So
the
every time I hear a physicist say E equals MC squared, I think he's a fucking idiot because either he's a liar or he doesn't know enough to know that he doesn't know enough. So
yeah,
when you and I discuss about photons and how the energy is transmuted or moved around the world or the universe, we're basing it in our minds already on E equals MC squared. And because that's a linear algebraic equation and not reality, we automatically go to the things that we're taught, but they're not exactly truth. Do you know what I mean by that? And hey, I'm just one guy. I could be wrong. Of course, everything I'm going to show in the next month will prove I'm not, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so I'm right now I'm just a big mouth talking shit, right? So we'll see.
yeah. By the way, last time I was talking about last week I was talking about the ambient energy at the macro scale and the ambient energy at the nano scale,
Yep.
and I had trouble to understand why it was different. And but looking at this video here, it makes a lot of sense because the Casimir, you'll see that the wavelength are in effect the way the long wavelengths are not effective for the Casimir, but the shorter wavelength are very very effective for the Casimir
The
effect.
idea is that when two uncharged conductive plates are placed in a vacuum, a few nanometers apart, an attractive force arises. In a simplified classical sense, there is no external field present except for gravity, which should be extremely small in this case, so there should be no force measured. In a quantum vacuum, electromagnetic fluctuations appear and disappear as intermittent electromagnetic modes that span an infinite range of wavelengths in free space.
How do you affect
In
it?
between the two plates, the larger wavelengths do not fit. The difference between the waves that can exist on the outside compared to those on the inside creates an effective net force that pushes them inward.
So you can see that the wavelength, the different wavelength are don't some are the longer ones are not effective for the Casimir effect, and the shorter ones are effective. So that explains why the energy density at the nanoscale is not affected by longer wavelength. You know what I mean? So
Yes, I do.
so
Yes,
yeah,
I do. I was going to explain something differently with a Casimir effect, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
so yeah, that's because I wanted to understand why the energy then or the energy potential was different at the
Has
macro
to do with
scale and the
speed.
nano scale.
Has to
Exactly.
do with
Yeah.
speed. Think
Yeah.
about that. You take a ping pong ball, you stick it between two walls, right? If it can bounce infinitely between the two walls, it's going at a certain frequency. Push the walls together. Now it's going to bounce faster. Push them even together, quicker, right? Real
Yeah.
fast. You're going so fast you can't even see it. That's why certain wavelengths can't be within that, and certain ones can. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
That's right. Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a little answer that I was seeking of last week, but yeah, thanks, man.
We're going to change the world, boys! Woo!
Like it's
I'm
like
telling you, we're
field
gonna have a lot of fun
frequencies,
this summer.
right?
Doctor.
Field frequencies. Like this is what determines what field, a frequency spectral line is on. And it's like
How much
colors.
energy is within that area of
Yeah.
your environment? That's what creates the field itself. Is the energy compacting in a compressive form just within the bubble that you're releasing? So,
Or reflecting.
yeah, reflecting, refracting, they're
Yeah.
kind of intertwined, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like think about it like an echo, right? You create the bubble, smack the echo, and watch everything reverberate. Kind of like what I said before, just tickle it. Tickle it and watch it laugh. Right?
Hey, Mike,
The
I
G
Mike,
still
factor.
hold on, stop. Who is this stinky N? Who is this annoying dude in the chat, dude? He's like driving me nuts. Can somebody please tell him he can't come on or something?
Stinky Pinky?
He
Inky
keeps
Winky.
send me a link, send me a link, send me a link, dude. Go suck your mama's tit, dude. Leave us alone. I mean, for
Stinky N.
God's sakes, man.
That's a different name.
That's Inky Winky.
Was
I think.
Dude, it's
thinking the
annoying.
same thing, Nathan. Like, what sort of name is that? No trolls.
That's his
allowed.
name.
See, if
I
we
didn't make
don't know you, you could be one of those guys that comes on and does some weird shit with this video and
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
right into trouble here. Yeah, we can't. It's
We're
bad enough
talking
they let
about
a crazy guy like me on.
Yeah, we're talking about field compression, and this a-hole's over here like, let me on, let me on, let me on. Dude, oh my God. Yeah, go back to mommy.
Oh my god.
No.
Got a few new faces here.
So would it be a capacitor or a converter or what like would kind of work in the same sense of field compression?
You're just compressing the you're compressing the frequencies so that only certain ones can get in there to multiply the field. You're creating a laser. If you do it too hard, you're creating a laser.
But it's also but it's also energy, right?
That's all it is. It just produces light because it's not allowed to get out. And then once it does, it shoots a beam of light across the room.
Yeah, it's exactly. The more it's compressed, it just becomes, like you said, a cohered beam of light.
Yes.
But can this light's energy be harnessed?
Well, somebody
Yes.
used a laser to spin something and make it fly up. I saw that.
Oh,
So
you should see what I'm doing with lasers. Oh man, lasers are if you use like different nanometer lasers and cross them in an electromagnetic field that's spinning, you get some very, very interesting results. Did you know that particulate matter falls out of lasers when you're talking through it? You create a ball, like it's kind of like ball lightning, but it's not. It's a ball of light with two interacting lasers in an electromagnetic field, and you start speaking through that little laser ball through the mods of the lasers itself. Particulate matter starts to fall out. I don't know if it's what's in the air that's falling out because of the high voltage, or if it's something that the
is it
lasers do.
combining it?
Yeah,
There's
I'm
dust
combining
particles
two
in there
different
combining.
colors,
So it's
two different
creating
colors
dust.
at different pulse rates.
So it
And I'm
creates
creating a
dust.
ball, and I'm talking through that ball by modulating them. What was that, Lulu? Sorry.
Creating dust or granules of matter.
Yeah, yeah, like dust. Because at the underneath on my countertop, when I'm done, and I go and wipe my hand, I got all this powder all over my hands. Hopefully, it's not poisonous. Because hey, I'm
Are
done for.
you,
It's
are you sure it's
monoatomic.
not?
It's a question of what type.
What's
What type
that?
of white powder he's talking about? He's
Yeah,
wondering
No,
what
it's
it's
type
not.
of
all
white powder.
monatomic.
I don't know if it was quite white. It kind of looked yellowish. So I don't
Oh, you're getting
know
some
what it
sulfuric.
was.
Or
Maybe
pollen. Or
in the
pollen.
next experiment, I'll collect it. I'll put it in a little vial.
Maybe it's
See what I
gold.
do. Nah, I don't think so. It wasn't shiny like gold. It wasn't. I've seen gold be
It isn't
imparted onto
shiny.
glass and stuff. Didn't look like that.
Hmm.
But who knows? I mean, I got to get it tested to know for sure, right? But
Yeah.
interesting stuff, I'm telling you.
Gold dust.
Yeah,
Gold
laser dust.
What
Sounded
a
cool.
way to
Quantum
smell
dust.
like duster.
Ooh.
What was that, Lulu?
Shattered dreams.
I said what a way to sell dusters, to cause dust in the air so people buy more dusters.
There you go. There you go.
Swear to God.
Yeah. Who knows what it was? Could have been dust from the air, and it just ended up falling out more from the two lasers interacting and it being modulated. I don't know. I'll collect it next time, and we'll see.
You
Put it
see,
on
you
video
say
and show it.
that I think of the Wi-Fi routers in the house. Like, could their triangulation create that kind of wave frequency where it creates dust? Like,
I don't know, but they can definitely 3D model your house from Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, I know
Mm.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
so it's fun to put Coca-Cola cans to in different places to offset their
Mess around with them.
like
Yeah.
frequency to disrupt it. Just different objects.
I got lots of cats. They're always walking around. I'm sure that messes with it. So what's new with everybody? I just popped in to be an arse, but my video didn't work right, so it sucks. Right? That would have been so perfect the way it came out too, man. I might put it on my channel still.
Yeah.
I like Sal. Sal's
Oh
fun.
yeah. Do you guys remember the experiment I did? You reminded me about the experiment I did with the laser. It's actually pushing dust. I did film it. I put it on my
Mm.
YouTube channel. But the laser is can push like smoke. Smoke in a jar.
Oh yeah.
It just propels. It kind of pushes. So it has a force. You can detect a force there, and so it moves air particles, and that's remember Ben the little experiment with the rotating rotating fins that you expose to light
Yeah,
in not absolute vacuum, but close to absolute vacuum. The
that
fins are
could have
gonna
been part.
start rotating.
That could have been
Well,
part of the mechanism that where I seen the dust. It was moving it around. Maybe I don't know. That's making me think.
yeah, but I'll try to find my video. I'll show it to you.
Excellent.
Um,
There is the possibility that it's photonically precipitated, but more than likely it's electrostatic precipitation of larger fine particles that are already floating around in the air. Primarily, it's dead skin and other
Yeah,
pieces of
that's
material. And what it'll do
because
is
it was
the
yellow. That's
electrostatic
what I was thinking.
right, the
It was
electrostatic
something that was
fields
already.
will take the dipole moment of that material, even if it's not necessarily charged, and because the electromagnetic energy is filling that space, the physical matter that blocks the electromagnetic energy or absorbs part of it, even if it absorbs a tiny little bit, will steal some of its momentum and be pushed by it. So what ends up happening is all the pieces of fine particle dust are pushed together into larger clumps, where their surface area in total decreases because the inside volume of air that they're exposed to becomes less due to them becoming solid. So as they become larger, they don't have that same what would we call that? Well, they're basically too heavy, too dense at that point to now stay lofted in the air by tiny little air currents. So they'll fall out or precipitate out. If you look up
Where's
electrostatic
the fun
precipitators, it's a
in
really
that?
commonly known thing. What's that?
I said, where's the fun in that?
Well, it's actually a lot of fun because if you
I'm
create,
kidding, Jeremiah. I'm kidding, brother.
oh, sorry, I can't tell.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
No,
I'm
No,
actually,
it's
playing.
just
you
that
could use a similar system though on a very large scale to just start dropping massive amounts of pollution out of the air, say in a city that's all smogged up, for example. The problem with electrostatic precipitators is that they require a particularly high operating voltage in a very, very large area of the machine itself, because an electrostatic precipitator can only precipitate the air that moves between the ionization mesh and the collection panel where the stuff is precipitated onto. So you have to have a machine as big as the volume of air flowing through it that you want to clean. But with your machine, what you're doing is inducing electric charges that are already in the air into action at a distance. And the reason why that's different is just imagine on the top of tall buildings in the middle of a highly populated city filled with smog, you have these giant coils whose sole purpose is to generate node points or pinch points of electromagnetic interaction or interference within the atmosphere above and around these coils. And so all the dust and crap that's floating around in the air basically is just clumped together into larger granules until they become large enough to actually fall out of suspension and drop to the ground, therefore clearing the air. And the great thing is these frequencies that they'll operate at are fairly low by comparison to other signals like Wi-Fi or cellular
Oh
communications.
yeah.
And so you turn these machines on basically in the morning and, they can run off solar panels that are also on the top of the roof, because the great part is they can actually operate well next to other equipment and not necessarily disrupt them if the wavelengths are tuned. And the whole city would be smog free within 30 minutes of these things running, provided that you have enough of them on the tallest buildings.
Well,
Yeah, we'd have some
That's
bit of
possible.
grain for sure.
everything you said exists. So what are the granules made out of?
Oh, they're made out of
Whatever.
unburned fuels and carbon
Yeah.
and dirt that's kicked up and just dust and sand and crap
Anything
from the
that
air.
has energy
And lots of cow
capacitance.
farts,
Is
right? Don't forget the cow farts.
anything
Basically,
that has capacitance value.
well, basically the
Cow
dust is just
farts.
made of any physical matter, any stuff that's actual matter that has a nucleus made of protons and neutrons. All that stuff, high mass, high density particles, are going to compose your dust. So, and that's just all the stuff that's on Earth already. The thing is, the stuff generally falls to the ground, but when the particles get small enough, even things that are, even heavy elements, heavy metals that you would expect just drop like a brick, like titanium or lead or something. If those particles get
Monatomic
small
stuff.
enough, right,
Monatomic.
then they're actually small enough to be bumped around by Brownian motion in the air or by small breezes or air currents. And so even the heaviest of elements, including radioactive dust, can be whipped up and strewn around the entire planet. And that's one of the dangers of fallout, right? Because you have you have these particles that become so fine, they're basically single atoms of these radioactive materials, and they can stay in the atmosphere for a really long time, follow the jet stream, and go around the entire planet, dropping on places that have never been exposed to it. So that's one of the dangers of using this technology when us humans don't seem to be responsible enough to do basic things like maintain our roads or bridges, and we're playing around with this kind of stuff.
That sounds bad.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
the
pretty bad
ego,
place to
though,
be in.
Jeremiah. That's the ego. That's everybody thinking they want the fucking holy grail, but nobody wants to go to hell to get there.
Well,
No, the only
exactly.
thing that makes me think of why they do this is to use it as a material for signal to like
Well, it's
transmit.
actually something much more simple and instinctive, Lulu. And I think that Alan Watts said it best when he was giving one of his philosophical speeches to his students. He was, talking about what motivates man to do the crazy things that it does. And he's using scientists as a reference in this particular one. And he says, today's scientists, they have this idea. If it can be done, it must be done. And they think very little of the implications or consequences of what will actually happen. They're more concerned with whether or not they
Question.
can do it.
In regards to that, does that mean the dire wolf has put us into a dire situation and we've actually resurrected the hellhounds and we're all screwed?
If I knew what dire wolf was, I'd be able to answer that question.
The dire wolf is the wolves that were extinct 10,000 years ago that we just brought back to life through gene editing because, just because it can be done means it should be done. And the next step after that is the mammoths, and after that, the dinosaurs.
Yeah, the dinosaurs.
The thing
Yeah.
is, it can get as big as like maybe a small elephant.
Well, I think if we bring something like the dire wolf back, it's not a particular danger, and it's certainly not playing God because we didn't design it. All we did
No,
was put it back together. It was
it's
broken pieces. So,
it will
and
become one of the biggest predators on planet Earth.
well, not really, because it would have to be capable of having that kind of proliferation and breeding.
Yeah, they
And
already made like 2 or 3 of them.
okay, so let's face it, Lulu. What animal is too large, too aggressive, too smart, or too fast for us humans to completely dominate it and almost bring it to extinction and/or completely bring it to extinction? Is there an animal on this planet that takes over when it comes to mankind
the
by comparison?
dinosaurs, and that's the third step that they're going to bring
I don't
back.
think so, Bernie. You can bring the biggest dinosaur that's ever lived on this planet back right now today, and it will be down within 10 seconds with our technology.
We'll just nuke it.
Yes, there's nothing on this planet that even slightly compares to humans.
Okay,
as
Nephilim,
far as
we can
know.
bring back the Nephilim, and yes, they're bigger and scarier because
Yes, but like I said, as far as we know, those types of things are that of mythos and legend, and we have evidence in support that they did exist and perhaps still do exist, even though there's no absolute proof of that. There is some weekly supporting evidence, but until they actually show up and we know that they're still around and or even interested in what's going on here on good old Terra, right? I'm not
I don't
really
know.
gonna be
My
too
uncle
concerned
Bob
with it.
said my uncle Bob said he saw a Sasquatch once.
I do believe that.
Sasquatch, and they are real, as far as I'm concerned, and my experience.
Same here.
with them.
I've never met one, but I am absolutely convinced that they are real because I've got an uncle that has met with one twice.
Our
Well,
prime
he's dead
minister.
now.
Our prime minister is a Sasquatch. You didn't know?
Just because he's a predator doesn't make him
don't
a
insult the
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch
Okay?
like that. Don't ever insult the Sasquatch like that.
Yeah, good point.
That's funny.
That dude belongs
I'm
in the
gonna get
cage with the
arrested
rest
for
of the
that one.
monkeys.
Yeah, I just demoted the Sasquatch.
Yeah, no, don't worry. Phil didn't mean nothing by it. That Sasquatch. No, I actually think the Sasquatch are highly intelligent creatures.
Yeah, we don't want to
And
offend the
not
Sasquatch
real.
community.
I doubt that they're watching YouTube, however.
That's right.
But you never know. Hey,
You never know.
Sasquatch might have snuck up on somebody with a really bright screen, and they might have dropped that phone. So Sasquatch got like a few hours to watch YouTube. I wouldn't. I if I was a Sasquatch and somebody dropped their smartphone in the woods and they had internet, you think I would just leave that thing sit there or like poke at it randomly? No, I'd pick it up and start playing with it. I'd want to know what has got these people so distracted that I was literally able to walk up on them. I remember for the last 50 years that every time I got within 500 feet, everybody would run screaming or something like that. But now I can just walk right up to them and they don't even notice me. So what's so important in this little light up hand device that they've got that's more significant than me?
Good point, right? Or they just smash it and be like, it's evil magic.
Sasquatch is way too
I
smart
always-
to do that.
I always pictured a Sasquatch plugging the phone into a tree to charge.
I imagine Sasquatch playing with the phone and thinking, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This is the dumbest shit. Let's go eat some humans. Let's go eat some humans.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely pious. I mean, anyways, we've got a lot going on here on this end. And
Yeah,
we
what
have
have you been
been
working on?
busy in the lab. Okay, well, let's see. On projects that are currently out and just floating around, I've got major improvements in the gravity wave generator. Many different iterations now of the A field coil, the H field Helmholtz control coils, and I haven't done much in terms of the resonance chamber or the primary ionizer, and I still have yet to modify the transducers, though I did change the way I'm driving them. But let me explain what this thing is that I'm talking about. So, the gravity wave generator is sort of like a canister made of plastic. Imagine it like a 3/4 size coffee can.
Okay.
And on the top of it is a perforated sort of like 4 millimeter holes that are spaced apart by like 8 millimeters, just in sort of a hexagonal pattern on the top. And it's all 3D printed parts. And then underneath that set of holes on the plastic, that's just to allow some, air in and out and allow some sound in and out, but still have some kind of mainly flat surface for the sound waves to bounce off of. And so underneath that, by about a centimeter, is an ionization wire made of 0.0005 millimeter thick tungsten wire. And the great part about that wire having such an insanely freaking small cross section, which, by the way, this stuff is so delicate as you're working with it to try and wind it around in an ionizer spiral. If you were to, say, take your two fingers and hold it, fairly tight between your two fingers, and then you let somebody drop a chopstick on it, like a wooden, like a bamboo chopstick from Chinese takeout, right? From only 1 inch above, it would snap this thing. That's how delicate it is. So it's hard to work with, but the cross section is so small that at 10 kV potential, it can send ions flowing 20 feet away.
That's a lot.
So it adds a tremendous acceleration potential, and once you hit about 10 to 15 kV, if there's a grounded object within 6 inches of it, your current at about 10 kV will start rising, and by the time you hit 15 kV compared to 10 kV, your current will have gone up by a full order of magnitude. And if you try to go all the way to 20 kV, it'll have to go up by another full order of magnitude. So what can happen here because of this is you have a really huge amount of ions, but you don't have a particularly high acceleration potential between the ionizer and the ground plate. So it can create a massive amount of ions in a really small volume, aka an ultra high cold plasma density. And this cold plasma fills the inside of this canister. And it travels from the top, where the ionizer is, towards the brass face of 7 piezo transducers raised in a hexagonal grid. Each transducer is spaced 3 millimeters away from the base plate and of the bottom of the cylinder, and that gives them a tiny little resonance cavity so that they can freely oscillate, and gives a space for the wires that connect each of them to pass out. And so that's what's going on inside the canister. So you have these ions that are produced at the top. There's a huge number of them. They flow down somewhat slowly by comparison through the air, bumping into free air molecules and putting pressure on stuff, and things getting in the way. And as they're doing this, they're also producing an electric wave because they're charged particles. And as charged particles move from one place to another, they produce a traveling electric field, which viewed at 90 degrees produces a transverse magnetic field. So now we have this source of energy that's radiating off electromagnetic fields just from the ions flowing. And now what do? We wrap two coils, both on the top and bottom of the cylinder, the space between them, and these coils are like basic solenoid coils. In fact, I can do one better. Let me just go on cam here. Oh, yes, that's not going to help anybody until I click settings and tell it to use the other camera. That does work.
There you go.
Okay, so I guess I'll start back over. So here is the ionizer mesh. I don't know how visible it is, but you might be able to see there's an extraordinarily thin wire between each of
Oh,
those
you
little
barely see
notches.
it.
Now, if we look down inside the canister, we have 7 piezo transducers. And so I'm going to plug this back in because that thing is so sensitive. If I bump it or anything touches it, it'll break. And so now as those ions are moving from the top to the bottom, these two coils are oscillating with an alternating current magnetic field. That has a north on the top at any given point and a south on the bottom. They're both arranged to produce the same polarity of vector axes. And so those ions, instead of traveling just straight down a line, they'll now start to take little cyclotron loops. And as the field reverses, they'll take one loop and then go back. So now you can see that there's a more complex motion. We've taken a linear motion that does have an acceleration. So the ion starts out and mainly moves slowly all the way down to right about the tip where it hits those transducers, and then it suddenly accelerates because the electric field there by those transducers is stronger. Now we've added this spin back and forth. We've added a vortex motion, counter-rotating vortex motion, but we haven't added enough because now what we want to add is a vortex inside of a vortex. So to take this simple wrapping back and forth motion and to make it go like this in little loops, sort of like you taken a spring and wrapped it into a circle, now we use the A-field coil. The A-field coil is the most interesting part of this gadget, and it's what's different about my machine than any other machine that has come before it so far as I know. And that is this coil has wires in the center, I'll show you one that's out, that are completely straight, parallel with each other, whereas on the outside they are at an angle. But I made sure that they were very straight in the center to make sure that the A-field vector potential axes coming off this coil passes through the inside of the cylinder and encompasses all those charged particles in the cold activated plasma that's flowing from the top to the bottom and being twisted around in cyclotron motion by these coils. And so what this will do is wiggle that cyclotron motion up and down in addition to the force from the piezo transducers. And so I can generate a phase interference between these two by running them at harmonics and control how many loops I get per loop, which is interesting because at that point, when you make an electron or an ion take a really fast curve and it has acceleration potential pushing on it, it actually loses some speed. It doesn't lose any downward speed, but because it's traveling downwards and it's also going in this loop loses speed. And the momentum is actually lost from the charged particle and radiated outwards in the form of a wave that's called Bremsstrahlung radiation. Now, Bremsstrahlung radiation is interesting because you can produce almost any frequency, but in this case, it tends to produce frequencies in the terahertz range. In that double-digit terahertz range in particular, that operates at the interatomic frequencies of physical matter. And so what I'm hoping to do with this is, as that cold activated plasma is moved, because the piezo transducers will only generate a sound wave that actually travels and ripples up and down and creates standing waves inside here, those sound waves are independent. That's not moving the whole entire mass of the particles at once. The sound wave can't move them all at once in a coherent state. It can only move them in a longitudinal wave that propagates through space. But the A-field coil is a bit of magic because it is using a field to move those charged particles, not a pressure wave that's atmospheric. So the velocity of this field is the speed of light, and the velocity of this field is the speed of sound. And so this field can grab all those particles all at once and move them up and down. And what do we call a cold activated plasma that's moving all in unison? We call it a coherent matter state. And it's very interesting when you start to get macroscopic effects with coherent matter states because you can start to generate effects like gravitational waves, or what the patents call a matter wave. It was also referred to by Henry William Wallace as the kinematic field, and it exhibits itself in a variety of forms. T.T. Brown identified that natural materials, when oscillated or given a pulsed electric charge that stimulates their motion, will produce gravitational waves, and he called these special materials gravitational and inertial isotopes. So that basically gives you a summary of that one apparatus. That's one of 6 that I'm working on right now, and
But
it's the one that I'm most excited about.
gravitational waves for me is a shock wave of time dilation, basically.
That's right.
And can you do you have an instrument precise enough to measure that? Because
I
I just bought a GPS do with the oven cook oscillator to measure time dilation, but it's not
Oh, that's
precise
a good
enough.
idea too, but it won't help me in this situation because this is not designed to create a it's not designed to create an accumulated time dilation in the way that I'm going to run it. In order to make it do that, what I would have to do is create a phase variance between the A field coil pump harmonic frequency that's arranged with the standing wave frequency of the acoustic side. And I can then create a group velocity that's a traveling wave that stacks the two standing waves on top of each other. And
Okay.
they'll end up having an actual motion that's either up or down along the vertical axes of that device.
Oh, I see.
There's also the possibility too that if I reverse the two H field coil, if I reverse one of the two H field coils so that I have two bucking magnetic fields in the center, I can achieve what you're specifically talking about, which is either a compression or a refraction in the localized refractive index stress energy momentum tensor value.
So I have a question for you, Jeremiah. Are you creating a singularity point of energy right between the two vortexes in the center?
I don't like to call it a singularity point because that would be not quite accurate. It is like a macroscopic singularity,
Okay.
and you can consider the entire inside volume of the cross section of the A field coil for its height and in its entire width as a solid cylinder of plasma that's being moved up and down all at once coherently.
Gotcha.
Now, it doesn't just stop, obviously, at the edges of the A field coil. It travels up and around, but now, because it's not in the center of the A field coil, it possesses a gradient, so it actually tapers off into the shape of a torus. And because that torus is straight in the center, where all those field lines go, it does curve around sharply at the edges, creating an actual spin torus, which then gives us the properties of a pseudoelectron, or a pseudocharged particle. And it's a funny field effect. It's a macroscopic space-time type phenomena, but I suppose I should call it time-space, really, because in this perspective, the way this device is built and the fundamental psychology behind its operation is of an aether-centric view of the universe, not a matter-centric view. Relativity takes us down to a matter-centric view and supposes that matter is actually the source of all of the stress energy that fills space, hence creating the gravitational and cosmological constants. But that's not the case at all. It turns out that matter itself is actually furnished of that same energy that is existing in space. It happens to be just that the energy is folded in on itself in such a way that it is now self-persistent. And there are many different stable forms that you can fold energy in on itself, but it has to be an exact quanta of its own energy in order to form a self-stable loop. Basically, it's saying, if you want to convince the Ouroboros to bite its own tail and start to eat itself, you've got to put something tasty on its tail. So, and in this case, plasma is that tasty little thing that the Ouroboros uses to bite down and try to chew on in order to digest this reality and turn it into whatever shape we've told it to spin.
It's ionization.
Well, we theorize that we can actually generate spontaneously physical matter of various sizes, provided that we have a sufficiently high degree of built-up energy that's that's been radiated from this system out in the coherent matter state, and now has created a localized refractive index modification suitable for reaching the extremely high stress energy momentum density thresholds that allow us to break the Schwinger limit and start ripping physical matter straight out of space-time.
So hold on, did you set your resonance points 100% equal to the very exact point between the north and the south, or between the top vortex and the bottom? When you built
The
your
sound,
bipolar,
what you're asking is,
State.
have I tuned the acoustic frequency to be ideal for the generation of a standing wave within the internal enclosure? Yes, that's exactly what must be done, and this is a key for this device, and anybody that's trying to build such a device. It's also very relevant for the Graviflyer stuff, and that is you have to start with some fundamental thing that you're going to be using as your base frequency in order to determine what the harmonics of the other systems need to be in order to make it work. So in Alexi's case, the first primary base frequency, the carrier, is the resonance of the discs themselves, the spinning discs. And the spinning discs don't just rotate. It's not just the velocity of the B field and the H fields, but it's also, or the velocity just of the electric field, but it is in fact actually a resonant mode of the disk surface physically moving up and down in an oscillating wave that's generating sound waves, compressing and expanding the space between those disks and the center disk. And those allow the charges that are already flying off the edges of the disks and the air molecules that are between them being polarized and stretched by the electric field superimposed from the charge on the two spinning disks versus the alternating potential of the center disk. And those charges, because they're now in motion, possess more stress energy surrounding them in space than they otherwise would at rest. And that effectively amplifies the electric fields that are present and the magnetic fields that are present, because you're affecting the speed of light there with that interaction. So there's a cumulative type of effect when these two fields stack on top of each other. And if the acoustic frequency is exactly a match of the AC pump frequency at some harmonic, and the AC pump frequency, I couldn't tell you exactly what harmonic it's on. It could be the 11th or the 9th or something like that. But anyways, if you happen to match those frequencies and your RPMs are maintained, the whole system will want to fall into resonance because you have to get it close enough, and then it'll phase lock. And it's just one of those funny little things that happens where if you get any two resonance systems close enough, they'll tend to phase lock and try to act coherently with each other. It's the same reason why the ions in my system will all grab, sort of hold virtual quantum hands and move together in one unison. But yeah, the Graviflyer operates by some of the same principles, which is super interesting to think about.
well, it uses 1/3 of the harmonic wave that the upper one does. And as soon as you get it to a certain resonance frequency, the top one actually will start to stall out and then pull it right into resonance with each other. And then they'll hit a resonance frequency through the center disk. And then as you move the center disk, it changes where you're at in the octave of it. It'll jump right away.
I've always
Exactly.
I thought about perhaps one better approach to the Graviflyer that obviously this would be so stupidly ludicrous or complicated, I suppose, that I don't see anybody actually taking it on. But imagine that you had a mechanical system of, say, 3 tensioner arms that could be distorted or what do they call that? Conformed, basically bent to shorten or lengthen the distance between the discs and adjust them independently on 2 separate servo channels. Then you could live dynamically tune the system with a fixed AC frequency, for example, that was already pumped and well in tune, or a fixed RPM from some very precisely controlled stepper motors to drive the discs instead. And those types of things wouldn't allow the system to naturally fall into tune, but with the adjustment of the servo motors, you could basically force resonance by adjusting it until it fell into tune, and you would be able to tell when it does based on the sound.
Oh, I've heard it.
Yes,
It's a
there's a
theme.
sudden change. It's almost like,
Yes.
it's like normally high frequency, and then when this happens, you'll suddenly hear it go, and
Yeah,
you're almost like your ears pop a little bit. It feels like the pressure in the room changes, and
it
what's
does.
happened here is the electric field has now become physically manifest as an equivalent mass. It's basically acting like pseudomatter. And it's because it's grabbing onto all the charges that are being flung around this machine, and the entire volume of space inside that room are all now somewhat quantumly entangled with the primary field of the active plasma that's between the two disks and around the edges of the disks in the gravifier. And when that happens, you get the coherence. So the gravifier doesn't just pull up on its own fields now, it's now pulling up on the fields of literally everything else around it. So it sort of gives you an idea of what the lift mechanism starts to look like in comparison to thinking this is an autonomous vehicle that just operates on its own, free of everything else. No, it definitely does not. It needs to interact with everything else. That's the primary way that it can actually generate any kind of relative force compared to its standing environment.
Well, see, that's why the geometry coil is so interesting, because it does those things without all the rotation. The rotation's in the winding. You know what I mean? That speed can be increased exponentially compared to the simple gravifier. So the harmonics in there are much better.
Oh, yeah. And I honestly, just personally, I hate the freaking gravifier. I have one.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a very, very nice unit. And
It's a pain in
I've
the
already
butt.
got it to do plenty of weird things, but what I realized about this design is it's absolutely ludicrous. It's really quite a childish design because it doesn't allow you the ability to fine-tune anything in a dynamic way. In order to change something in the system, you have to shut it off. And that's a retarded idea that doesn't allow you to actually tune it in. Just imagine, every time you wanted to change a station on your radio, you had to completely unplug it and take it apart. Nobody would ever find the station they're looking for, so I have a different approach.
that's a good
A
point.
solid state approach that
Yeah.
allows you to dynamically tune things with only changes in frequency by varying capacitance or inductance in the driving circuits.
That's right.
Do you have meters to measure the output of your device?
The word, I would say is probes, and I use an oscilloscope to measure it.
Okay. And you say you can reach the Schwinger limit at some point?
Yes, I've gotten spontaneous generation of radiation that sets off my Geiger.
It's important to get that, by the way.
But I will tell you, I'm not there yet, so don't come to my door now hoping that you're going to see something, because it is not operational yet. I have built the fundamental pieces of the apparatuses that I need to be in place in order to start and play with these concepts. But I have not yet built the driving circuitry or perfected the modes of oscillation that will be required in order to get this system operating coherently. And quite frankly, I can pump all the power I want into this thing all day long, and I can expect it, rightfully so, to do absolutely freaking nothing interesting. Because unless it's tuned, you might as well just randomly put strings on a guitar. Throw piano strings on a guitar. Hell, use a shoelace for D, and just pluck away and try to play something that's going to sound melodious. And
No,
right, that's the dabbling of the gravifier, in my opinion.
no. With the coils, though, the interesting part is the less amount of energy and the better frequency in oscillation is worth all the weight in gold. Because 10 volts
Absolutely.
goes a long way.
The funny thing is about a standing wave, it's cumulative. You can build up an extremely high amplitude as long as your system has high Q and doesn't basically waste energy internally.
Mhm.
You can build up an insanely high radiation density from an incredibly low amplitude input. Just the tiniest little whisper, imperceptible to us, placed next to a tuning fork, will eventually allow that tuning fork, if it's just at the right frequency, to ring up to such an amplitude that it will now fling water away and you'll hear it ringing across the room and through the door. And yet that thing you could have placed your ear 5 inches away from the sound source and yet not heard it.
Can you create water with this? Can we
It should be possible because the constituent atoms of water are not a particularly large number of particles. So it would be something that'd be on the easier side to generate, I'd say. But if we want to start with anything, we're going to obviously start first by looking for hydrogen without an electron. And the electrons may already be present because, the first stage when you actually break through the threshold is you're going to get positron-electron pairs. And so at minimum, you'll have the signature of positronium being generated and falling back together in terms of the exactly 511 keV gamma photon emission that shows up. So a gamma spectrometer will be able to indicate to you whether you've actually achieved or broken that limit. Past that point, there are other things well beyond that threshold. And again, people think about the Schwinger limit as this impossible to reach thing requiring insanely high energies or petawatt lasers pulsed into a microscopic volume of space, like the National Ignition Facility, for example, or think that you have to have insanely high velocities of charged particles slamming together in order to create magical effects like they think at CERN or other accelerator labs. And both of these ideas are absolutely ignorant and ludicrous because these folks don't understand the dynamics of space. And as Gerald said earlier, the idea of relativity trying to lock us into a physical manifest space that is immalleable to us and requires insanely high energies to be modified is wrong. What he does not understand is the nonlinearities are the key component of these systems. And space-time is extremely nonlinear. You can't just keep on adding the electric field indefinitely and expect nothing to change. That's not how things work in this universe. Otherwise, there'd be no inertia. The fact that things experience resistance to acceleration at all is a testament to the fact that their electric fields are the magnetic moments, even in the case of neutrons, which possess a magnetic moment, actually have to repolarize new space relative to their previous position in order to move from any place to another. And that's what actually gives us inertia. It's the fundamental basis behind it. Is the electric fields and the magnetic fields and their moments have to repolarize the physical space when that thing is given an acceleration force away from its original its position, because it will fight against its own field where it's all nicely comfortably sank in to the background and everything is uniform around it in terms of all directions. And now you created a non-uniformity by trying to displace it from its bed.
Yeah.
And it's
So
going to want to fall back down there because the bed doesn't spring up instantly. It has to travel out at the velocity of light. And that creates your inertia.
yeah, inertia is kinetic energy. That's all it is. By the way, if you can reach the Schwinger limit, you can definitely create the force field I keep talking about. With the time dilation, shock wave. I need kind of a certain amount of energy, but if you can't reach that or duplicate it, then I'm just saying that you might be able to create a force field before I'm able to.
Well, perhaps. I mean, we've already gotten force field-like effects. I can tell you what the seed of that concept might be. When I was making the core for the A field coil, it's a torus-shaped ring, and I 3D print this thing. Simon made us some excellent 3D printed files. He sends me G-code directly from my K1 Max, which I don't have to do any work on a slicer to run, right? Yeah, huge shout out to Simon for that one. He is insanely good at what he does. And so I just pop on the flash drive and throw it on there, and now I've got a new A-field coil core. But of course, this core I've asked him to design is hollow. It's just two walls with, chamfered edges on the bottom and top. And on the top side, instead of it going back to a flat on the top of the torus, the very edge of the ring, it's got a slot that goes around in the form of a ring that I can fill it with epoxy or whatever else I chose. And so I mixed up 100 grams of black iron oxide with 40 grams of 1 hour working time epoxy. And I should have used a lower centipoise thickness because this stuff was way too thick and difficult to work with. It was a major problem, but I mixed all this batch together, threw it in the vacuum chamber, degassed it, which, by the way, the process of degassing is awesome because it will mix up your epoxy with your particulate suspended particles, in this case, black iron oxide, and make it really uniform, which is something that you couldn't do no matter how long you mixed it. You would never be able to mix it fast enough anyways, because the epoxy would set by the time you'd finally gotten even close to what a vacuum chamber will just do for you in like 5 minutes. But 20 minutes in, it takes me to prepare, about 10 to 20 minutes in, the epoxy is already fully mixed in and it's ready to go, so it's going to set pretty quickly after that. And so now you're racing against the clock to try to fill this core with the stuff, but what you end up with is a magnetic core that you made yourself that now has a significantly higher mu, and so its refractive index is much, much larger than the vacuum, and so any electromagnetic waves that travel through it will be prismatically distorted along their pathway because of its physical density alone. But the fact that it's also magnetic material means that the A-field coil's frequency can now be dropped with the same amount of current flowing through it, and that means I can accumulate much more energy in the audio frequencies of the higher double-digit to triple-digit kilohertz in order to physically oscillate at one of the harmonics of the acoustic frequency. And that was a problem with the A-field coil originally. It didn't have a core, and so it didn't have enough inductance to drop the frequency down below like several megahertz. And now I can operate it into the kilohertz range.
What if you microwave it?
That would completely melt it.
I mean, it would change its molecular bonding structure. So,
Well, yeah, absolutely, it would melt it. I mean, it's made of PLA, which melts at a pretty low temperature.
no, I'm
And
talking about the epoxy. Like, instead of putting it in the vacuum chamber, what if you microwave it?
the vacuum chamber is necessary because it pulls the air out.
Okay.
If you microwave it, the heat of the microwave will cause the epoxy to rapidly cure and go into a runaway state where it starts smoking or even catching fire. So that would be a really, really, really bad idea. Never microwave epoxy. Also, epoxy will release a massive amount of toxic fumes that will stick to everything inside your microwave, guaranteeing that all of your future food will be poisoned with contaminants. So, again, don't ever microwave epoxy.
I wasn't talking about my kitchen. I was just talking about, like, in a lab setting, like a microwave.
No, don't microwave epoxy anyways, because epoxy is a miracle of science. Let's face it. You take two liquids that are shelf stable for an extremely long time, you mix them together, and within 20 minutes to an hour, they become a solid plastic. That the miracle of that chemistry to make those molecules link together and self-catalyze in a not too insane, somewhat exothermic reaction is nothing short of miraculous, and to ruin it by disrupting its molecular structure and that fine chemistry with microwaves would pretty much destroy the entire thing that's happened.
So hold on, Jeremiah, you're already in the megahertz on that coil, right? Like you're approaching the gigahertz or something like that?
No, this coil is far too long of a wavelength to operate in gigahertz, but yes, it absolutely operates in megahertz.
What is it, a 3-inch pipe on a what looks like to be 5 inches tall?
It's about 5 inches wide, and that coil is about 2 inches tall.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, right in there. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's got something like 96 turns or something around there.
Oh, what, like 32 gauge or
32 gauge? No, man, like 12 gauge.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh man, that coil weighs over a pound with the core. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look anywhere near as heavy, but I have made the energy density of this system way freaking higher, dude. I'm not playing around in the double digit watts range now. We're talking 200 to 300 watts I can pump into this thing, no problem. The real weak point of this system right now is the piezo transducers, because they can only operate in the milliwatts range. Realistically, like, yes, I have had them operating at up to 7 watts, and they get freaking hot really fast. It takes about 30 seconds to completely overheat them, and if I run them longer than that, it'll crack the surface piezoelectric crystal and start to delaminate. So that would be really bad.
You don't want that much energy in there. Yeah, it's too much energy.
Well, they just can't. They're just not physically a thick enough crystal to handle or dissipate that type of momentum. So they can't oscillate that quickly without thermal energy distorting them. But anyways, there are thicker transducers and better things that I can use for that. I just simply haven't gotten around to constructing them, because I am already using the best that I can find in terms of pre-made products that I can just buy off the shelf. And that was the whole modus operandi behind why I designed this device this way. All the parts are 3D printed, so anybody can replicate that. All the wire is off-the-shelf stuff. I'm not using any magic sauce materials. I'm just using epoxy and black iron oxide that you can grab on Amazon, eBay, or I got mine from, what was it? Let me see. American Metals or something like that. I forget exactly what their name is. Yeah, I don't see the paper around here. Anyways, doesn't matter. You can source this material. So everything that this thing is made of is all stuff that people can buy or acquire fairly easily. But now, if I have to do something like make custom transducers, I've added a layer of complexity that's going to make it more difficult to replicate. So if I can find an off-the-shelf solution, I would like to use it, since ultimately, when this thing does some magic that I can videotape and share, beyond what it's already kind of done, because it's not significant enough that I want to try to produce or put out any information or literature or footage of it vaguely kind of sort of moving stuff. So that's, like I said, any better driving circuitry and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's a work in progress. But when we do, I don't want people to be scratching their heads wondering how they're going to do it. I want them to be able to click on the description and open up a file database, download the 3D files, and start getting their hands busy building it, so that they can make their own gravity waves, and they don't have to get, whatever magical element Bob Lazar says you need in this special antimatter resonator cavity. They can also start making it on their lab bench.
No, I'm just going to say this, Jeremiah. I really think that the lower the voltage, the better off you're going to be, because the resonance will produce plasma inside the wire itself, which will just come out as energy, but it multiplies the amount as long as you have it low enough. You see, when you get to too high, it saturates it too fast, it's gone. When you have it low, then you'll saturate your entire room with the resonance. So you have to lower it in order to make it a weak field to interact with the other weak fields to make a strong field out of it.
Well, let's specify exactly why that is, though, because you can tell people that, and they're not going to understand exactly what the reason for why it needs to be less power instead of more power.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If you have a really powerful amplifier hooked up to your speaker, and that amplifier has a really low impedance, any waves that hit the speaker are not going to be able to enter into it and affect the amplifier parametrically, because the amplifier is basically going to just short them out and crush them. But if you have a weakly coupled amplifier, like say you connect your speaker with a series capacitor and your amplifier is a high impedance amp, now the sound waves that hit the speaker from another source will cause the speaker to act like a microphone, sending energy back into that circuit. And if that circuit of the amplifier happens to be connected to some variable frequency oscillator that isn't fixed by a crystal or something, but it's just dynamically controlled by a capacitive inductive LC, then LC oscillator, then now it can interact with that field and start to be sympathetic with the external input. So two coils that are somewhat close in frequency, if they're close enough and the amplitudes of driving one coil are not too tightly coupled to some reference point, both coils can now sing with each other, and when they share a field, even if they're not exactly in tune, they will sing in tune.
Yes, they will.
And that's what you're saying, is the importance is you don't have such a powerful signal driving one side that it's not able to hear the other signals around it.
Exactly.
And this is basically the problem that a lot of people I know have, which is they want to do all the talking, and when anybody else has something to say, they won't shut up long enough to listen. And I know when I've gotten excited, I have done this plenty of times to almost all of you. So I'm guilty of what I am pointing out here, but not to be a hypocrite. This is something I think we all need to kind of observe and work on sometimes.
That is why I've left myself muted and let you guys discuss this gold.
Yeah, because before I jumped on, my only thought was, well, this is a real cluster. And I would love to get in there and start to bring this together into some coherent discussion where we talk about what we are actually capable of doing to space-time and start screwing with things. All right? Because I don't know, I get bored by all these fake videos and all the crap that I see on YouTube, and so many people with big claims telling you, hey, it's not going to work if you don't have this or if you don't have that, and you'll never be able to do it unless you have my book or my theory or my newest gadget. And by the way, I won't even tell you, watch my channel for the updates when I'm going to never tell you, but I'll always promise that I will.
But you need the super force. You need the super force.
That's right. Get your super force right here, folks. Super force, $5 for $1. Get them while you still suckers, and you don't have to believe in it.
Oh, that's great. Oh.
No, I mean, I like Sal Pius in terms of conversation. We've had a lot of great interviews together. But the fact that he wants to stick Superforce as his own little candy on top of what's existed long before him, and has existed basically since the creation of the universe, right? Sorry, Sal, but it is a pretty super kind of force. I'll definitely give you that, but it's not the super force as defined by Sal Pius.
Yeah, it's not his.
And that's why we need to have Sal Pius versus Jack Serfati, because they're both fighting.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Force. And it's like, y'all need to battle it out, and then the world will come to the conclusion that it's neither of yours. Seven ones.
Yeah, as we've said many times, we want to get them both into the philosophical boxing ring and let them just duke it out with their theories,
Mixed
and
mental
whether it's
arts.
the Sarfati factor or the super force.
Or the
Bernie,
fuck man. Like,
Yeah,
Bernie,
who gets to call the variable refractive index their own name?
hey Bernie, Bernie, I gotta square up the show here soon. I gotta be up early, so
no worries, brother.
Sounds good. Well, I hope that was
yeah,
entertaining to y'all.
That
I
was
mean, I have a
amazing.
lot more to cover, like the free energy generator stuff, but we're not going to talk about that today, I don't think.
I just
Yeah,
want
we'll
to
get it.
reiterate that the
Right.
superforce is just a Planck linear energy density, which is the maximum force that you can have in our galaxy. But that's about it. It's not a freaking force that is super.
Actually,
But
and this is where he's wrong, because there's actually an ultra force beyond the super force where you actually start to generate other things with different mass energy densities that are not equivalent to electron energy. 511 keV per particle, or a total of 1.022 MeV, is not the threshold that space is absolutely limited to. That just happens to be the threshold that when you reach it, you start to get electrons and positrons. But you can go beyond that and start to get protons and neutrons and other particles, and many of the mesons that'll just show up. I mean, you get all kinds of manifest particles, and some of them are actually stable.
So,
So the fact is that we're just not reaching those energies by slamming things together, because you've got a lot of people that have hammers for heads, and they think everything is a nail and that's the solution. But what we really need now in the physics community that we don't have in the particle accelerator labs, and don't have in the National Ignition Facility, and don't have in the high energy nuclear reaction stuff, where we're talking, tokamaks, and that is, we don't have a lot of people who are surgeons that know how to work with a scalpel. Fine fields that are very sensitive, what we call subtle energies, that can actually communicate with things on the level of something like human consciousness. And you start to get weird effects around these machines, by the way, where you can emotionally feel a connection to this inanimate object because of its resonances.
have
yeah,
you ever been in a server room with all the equipment on?
I have, and oh man, is that a weird experience.
It is. I've been in a server room of my university, and it's one of the most wonderful feelings that you could be. And it feels like you could hear the world, but not. It's humming, but it's such a.
Exactly. Just imagine all these communications going all right by you. It's sort of like standing in a box in the center of the busiest city street, city cross section, with all these people walking around and everything. You got all these signals, but nobody knows you're there. It is kind of like that. All those little electromagnetic waves, all those signals, they do cohere and create other resonance modes that your brain picks up on.
all right. So cheers, Mike.
yeah, everybody, thanks a lot. It was a
Much
great
love.
cast tonight. We had our live chat was on fire all night long, so
I didn't
that
look
was
at it once, I think, after I got on. So sorry, everyone, if you asked me questions.
yeah, there were
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
I do like to
yeah.
monologue sometimes. I apologize.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
we'll go live to her again next week, Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. And don't forget to check out Nathan's channel, Ben's channel, Philip's channel, and also Gerald as well. Thank you, Gerald, for coming on for a little while. He had to bug out early, but glad he came on for a little bit there. He put in his 2 cents, and as he always does. I almost had to put him in
I'd
the
say
rubber.
6 cents. He's got 6 cents he puts in.
Yeah, the G factor.
Oh man, that's a good one. That's clever. I'm gonna have to say that to him one time and watch him crack up at it. You gotta mention that next time when he gets on and say, "Hey, it's the G factor."
God. Anyways, guys.
And love
Anyways,
of course.
yeah. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see everybody next week.
Sounds
Good night,
good.
everybody.
Later, all.
Cheers.
Cheers. Take care.
Good night. Have a good weekend.